Hello everyone, this is Neil from Edureka and welcome to this Edureka live session on getting started with Power BI. Now Power BI has gained a lot of popularity in the recent years and has become one of the most widely used self-service business intelligence tool in the market. Let's move forward and look at today's agenda to get a better understanding of what we'll be discussing as part of this session. We'll first try to understand what exactly is self-service business intelligence because you need to understand what this approach is before you understand about Power BI. After that, we'll move on to understand why we need to use Power BI when there are different tools in the market that help you do the same. Moving on from there, we'll talk about what exactly is Power BI, and then towards the second half of this session, we'll be working on a demo wherein I'll be helping you understand how you can create a report as well as dashboard using Power BI. So I hope you guys are definitely looking forward to this session. So let's start with the first topic of today's session, which is what exactly is self-service business intelligence. Now, self-service business intelligence basically is an approach for data analytics. Here, the end user does not need to have complete detailed technical knowledge while working with these tools. He needs to have simple understanding on these tools before he goes on and works with them. Using these tools, he can actually perform various operations on the data like filtering the data, segmenting the data, analyzing it, transforming it, visualizing it, anything that he wants as per his requirement. Now, what you need to understand is that there are mainly three approaches while you're working with business intelligence tool. The first approach is the technical tool approach. Here, people who have complete knowledge with respect to the tools are professionals who got good understanding of how databases work, how ETL operations work, how these tools have to communicate with each other, how the database connection has to be maintained, and so forth. But this basically restricts people from using these tools. Only people who have technical knowledge will be using these tools. Then you have the end user business intelligence tool. Herein, people who have no knowledge but have a specific requirement use these tools as such. Here mostly it's drag and drop operations that you will be performing using these tools as such. Third approach is the self-service business intelligence approach. This, as you might have assumed, is a middle approach with respect to the earlier mentioned approaches. Here, people who have technical knowledge and people who do not have technical knowledge can use these tools as per their requirement. So as I had mentioned, this approach is for people who come from both backgrounds as such. And this is one of the major reasons why these tools are gaining a lot of popularity in the industry today. Now that you've understood what exactly is self-service business intelligence approach, let's move on to understand why exactly you need to go with Power BI when there are different tools that help you do all these techniques as well as these operations on your data. Now, here are some of the major reasons which I feel make Power BI stand across the different tools in the market. Now, anytime that you're using a tool, the first thing that comes to your mind is the cost factor. Power BI basically is a free tool. You can go on to Microsoft's website and download the Power BI desktop as well as log in and create an account and begin using the Power BI service application. It's quite simple and easy as such. Power BI does have a pro version, but again, do not worry when I say a pro version because it's going to cost you as much as $10 a month just to use the pro features. Okay, now in comparison to other business intelligence tools, let's take Tableau for an example. You need to spend close to $1,000 to $1,500 just for a single user's license. But here, the same work, almost the same operations, the same visualization, you can completely use the pro version of Power BI at the cost of only $120. So with respect to the cost factor, definitely Power BI is packing a big punch here. Now, let's say you want to integrate various applications with respect to your tool. You can do that as well. Let's say you want to integrate your Power BI with respect to different applications. That is also possible. Power BI provides you with various applications which help you integrate your data, integrate the Power BI itself, as well as integrate various applications with each other as such. Now, this one major factor helps you bring in your data from different sources, as well as helps you provide your visualization and analysis on different applications as well. Now, if you're looking at Power BI just as a visualization tool, then the first thing that would come to your mind is with respect to the customizability of the tool. How much can you customize and visualize with respect to your data? Here, Power BI is not behind because Power BI gives you a range of about 30 different visuals pre-built in. Apart from that, you can use various custom visuals that are available on Power BI store. Let's say none of this meets your requirement, not a problem. You can go on to build your own custom visuals using Power BI. Now, if I'm using a business intelligence tool and I'm not someone who has good technical knowledge, the first thing that would come to my mind is how easy is it for me to interact and use the application. Now, with respect to the user interface as well as the user friendliness, Power BI stands across with respect to a huge margin. Okay, it's very simple for people who come from technical background as well as non-technical background to interact and perform various operations with respect to their needs in Power BI. Now, machine learning is one of the biggest buzzwords in the industry today. Once you've integrated your Power BI with the Azure service, then you can bring on your data to Microsoft Azure and then perform your machine learning on Azure. Once you've done that, you can provide your analysis as well as your visualization using Power BI. So Power BI helps you with respect to the final representation as well as the analysis of the data that you're achieving through your machine learning operation. Now, reports and dashboards are something that are quite essentially important for all of us. We need to have complete access to them, and we need to have the access to them at any given instant. Power BI provides one of the greatest mobility factor into this. Apart from being easy to access on your desktop as well as on the cloud service, you can also download Power BI's mobile application through which you can completely view the reports as well as dashboard and get an insight as well as access to your reports anywhere at any time. Now, coming to Power BI as a technical person, the first thing that you want to do is that you want to play with your data, you want to analyze it, you want to perform various operations with respect to your data before you go on to visualize it. So in that aspect also Power BI is not behind. You can integrate Power BI with R when you can write your R scripts to process your data. As I had mentioned, you can integrate various applications which will help you perform your analysis. But again, let's say if you're coming from a technical background, you want to be a bit old school, you want to write your SQL queries, you want to put across all the queries, filter out your data, separate your data, select your data. That also can be done. You can put in your queries and perform all the operations as you want. Now, one of the cool features that Power BI offers is the integration of Power BI with Microsoft's personal assistant Cortana. This in itself makes it quite easy for interaction and quite user friendly as such. It's always helpful to have someone there to help us in case we are not comfortable with that tool, right? Definitely. Now, these are just some of the major reasons which I feel that make Power BI the most popular tool. But this does not mean these are just the only reasons, okay? Because there are various other reasons. And to give you just a simple fact, Power BI has helped Microsoft stand in the leader quadrant with respect to Gartner's ranking. If you see the previous few years, if you see 2015, 2016, Microsoft had actually had a decline. With respect to the growth in popularity for Power BI, Microsoft has again come up in the race, and it quite seems possible that Microsoft will take over Tableau's position as the market leader as well. So I hope you guys are clear with respect to why Power BI stands up when compared to the other tools in the market. Okay, so moving forward, you might be wondering what is Power BI. I've been talking so much about Power BI, so let me address that question as well. Power BI basically is a cloud-based business intelligence tool. Using this tool, you can perform various operations like data integration, data analysis, as well as build interactive visualizations and reports as such. Now, it's not just a single application, it is a collection of various software services, applications, and data connectors which work together and help you create various visuals and insights and analyze and integrate your data as such. Now again, with respect to the capability of Power BI's visualization, it's one of the best in the market. Analysis and integration are one of the key features that come as an add-on with respect to a data visualization tool. Now, if you're someone who's worked with Microsoft BI, then you might be wondering, okay, is this something that's going to replace Microsoft BI? To be straightforward, no. But seeing as to how much Power BI is growing over the years, I can definitely assure you it is quite a possibility. Okay. So moving forward, let's try to look at a demo for today's session. Now what we'll be doing is we'll be starting from scratch. We'll be building a Power BI report, and then I'll show you how you can create a dashboard from the report that we have built. Okay, now before we move on to our Power BI desktop, the data set that we'll be using today is a product and sales data set. Okay, this is from a superstore in US, and the data actually was collected from 2013 to 2014. Now, what exactly are we trying to achieve from this demo? We basically want an overview with respect to the products that we have. We want to understand how our products are with respect to which segment has which product and how many products are present in different categories as well. Apart from this, we'll also try to achieve an overview from the manufacturer perspective. We'll try to understand which manufacturer provides how many products in which segment as well as in which category. Okay, so let me go ahead and show you my Power BI desktop. So this is my Power BI desktop. Okay, so you can all download the Power BI desktop from the website of Power BI. Okay, my team will also be sharing the link across with you, so you can use the link, go on to download Power BI desktop. Okay, and while you are downloading Power BI desktop, please ensure that you are signing up for Power BI. Okay, this is important because only and only if you sign up with Power BI, then can you access and publish your reports on Power BI Service, which is the third product from Power BI. Now again, coming back, there are mainly three products from Power BI. You have Power BI Desktop, which is a desktop based application wherein you'll be creating all your reports as well as performing all the operations on your data. Then you have Power BI mobile application, which is an application on your phone which you can use for viewing your reports and dashboards as such. The third is Power BI Service. So immediately once you sign up with Power BI, you get the access to Power BI Service. So this is my Power BI Service. Here you can build your dashboards, edit and modify your existing reports. Also you can import workbooks, that is Microsoft workbooks, into this to use for different data sets, as well as you can integrate different applications here. Okay, now if you click on the apps option, at present there are no apps present here, but once you look at the complete list of applications through which you can integrate your Power BI, that is, you can integrate the data present here onto your Power BI, or you want to have a live communication between these applications and Power BI, you can just integrate the application as such. Now there are multiple applications, and every day there are new applications coming in as well. So this definitely is something that you should look out for. Okay, coming back to my Power BI desktop, so this is what it would look like once you've logged in and opened your Power BI desktop. Okay, so first let me load the data. So click on get data. Okay, so these are the different data sources from which I can bring in the data to my Power BI desktop. You have various types of files, you have various databases, you have Microsoft Azure services, as well as various online services available as well. Now apart from that, let's say you want to load from a web page, you want to load a HDFS file, you can do that. If you want to bring a R script, you can do that as well. So there are different options here. Now this is also another contributing factor which has helped Power BI grow as such, because if you look at the other data visualization and self business intelligence tool, the number of data sources from which you can import is quite restricted. Okay, and I'm not even using the pro feature, so these are available to me as a standard input itself. Okay, so let me just click on connect, because I'm going to load an Excel file with all the data present here. So this is my file, and once I have selected my data source, Power BI is going to give me an overview of the data present in the file before it actually loads into Power BI. So here in this file there are 6 different pages, and each has a corresponding table. So I'll just show you the tables present here. So you have date, you have geographical details, manufacturer details, you have product details. Now we'll be mainly working with the product details, but what I would be doing is I'll be loading all the tables as part of this session, because I can also show you how these tables will be related by Power BI when you're loading multiple tables as such. Now once you've selected the tables that you want to load, just click on load option and Power BI begins loading these tables. Now since this table is a slightly big table, it's about 30 MB file, so it may take some time. Meanwhile, if you do have any questions, you can put it across in the chat box and my team will be able to answer your questions as such. Okay, so here you can see the different tables being loaded. Now one thing I want you to do is I want you to keep your interest here. So here you can see it's detecting relationships, that is, it's trying to identify how these tables are linked. Okay, now keep that in mind, we'll be coming back to that in a few minutes. Now let me just give you a simple overview of Power BI desktop. Okay, so there are mainly 3 workspaces. There's the report workspace, there is the data workspace, and there's the relationship workspace. Now the report workspace is the default workspace that you will be redirected to whenever you open Power BI, and this is the workspace that you'll mainly be using for creating your various visualizations and reports. Now in case if you're wondering where the visualizations are present, it's present here. Okay, apart from the standard visualizations, you can also import custom visualizations that can be in form of a file, or you can directly import it from the Power BI Microsoft Store, that is. Okay, now Here are all the tables that you have loaded into Power BI present. Now these are the 6 tables I have loaded from one file. Let's say you're loading from multiple files, then all the tables would be present here. Correspondingly, you can find all the columns present in each of the table as well. Okay, so whichever column you want, you can drag it and drop it to your visualization. Apart from that, all the visualizations would have at least 2 planes present here. The first is the fields. Okay, that is the fields associated with the visualization. This is where you're going to add in all the values for that visualization. Apart from that, let's say you want to add any filtration condition to that visualization, you can specify that here as well. Second is the visualization page. Now here basically you're going to work around with respect to the various visualization, that is like the view or the style associated with respect to each of the visualization. Okay, now let's move on to the next workspace, that is the data workspace. Now this is an interesting workspace because this lets you view all the data present in the corresponding table. Okay, earlier when we were loading the data, we had just got a preview. Here you can view the complete data as well. Okay, now let's say you want to make any operations on this data, you want to modify the data, you want to write any queries. So I'm quite sure all the technical people here would definitely be wondering, where do they do that? For that, you can just click on the edit queries option present here. Once you click on this, Power BI's query editor gets opened, and this is the place where you can work around with your data, you can manipulate it and do whatever you wish to do. Okay, so here I have the complete freedom to manipulate my data. Okay, you have the standard operation of splitting the data, grouping the data. Apart from that, let's say if you want to present any expression to that, that also can be specified. You want to create a new column, you can do that. You want to delete a column, not at all a problem. Now let me just show you a simple operation here. Let's say this date column. Okay, so by default Power BI also detects what data type is present in a corresponding column and it sets it, but always make sure you are cross-checking it before you go ahead. Okay, now here once I right click on the date column, and if I go to the change type option, it's telling me it's presently a date time format. Okay, if I want, I can change that as well. Let's say I want to transform it. I just want the dates from this column, so I click on date only option. Okay, and it's extracting only the dates from this column. Now if you've noticed, in the applied steps there's a new steps added, that is extracted only date. So this operation, that is any operation that you perform on these tables, get reflected as steps in this table. Okay, so let's say you don't want any step, that is you want to cancel any step, then all you need to do is just cross out the step and your table goes back to how it was. Okay, so this is a very nice workspace for everyone who wants to play around with their data, they want to try new things, and this is definitely the place that you want to try out. Okay, once you're done with all that, you have the option of close and apply. Now I don't want any changes to get applied, so I'm just going to click on close option. So this is how you work with your data workspace. Okay, there are multiple operations here, and we'll explore more of this in our next session as well. Okay, apart from that, if you want to enter a data as well, you can do that here. Okay, so it'll add a new table, or if you want to add a new row as well, you can do that. Finally, coming to the third workspace, which is the relationship workspace. This is an interesting place where this will come into picture when you're working with multiple tables as such. Okay, let's say you're taking multiple tables from a database. Now there's always going to be a corresponding relationship present between them, and you need to maintain that before you go on to create your visualization or analyze and work around with your data. So that is quite important, and this is the place where all the relationships are reflected. Now Power BI by itself detects the different relationships with respect to the tables that you're loading. So let's say I've loaded all the 6 tables. So what it has done is that it's checked the column names and it's correspondingly established a relationships between these tables. Okay, but one thing you need to remember is that these relationships established by Power BI may not always be correct. Okay, so always ensure if you're working with multiple tables, you are using the correct relationships. Okay, now comes the question on how do I correct my relationships, how do I create a new relationship, how do I delete it? It's quite easy. Just click on a relationship. In case if you want to delete it, you have the option of deleting it. Let's say you want to create a new relationship. I want to link the date from my date table to dates of sales fact. I just have to drag and drop and that relationship gets created. Okay, it's quite simple process. Okay, let's say you want to go in more detail with respect to it. You want to manage multiple relationships, then go in and click on the option of manage relationships. Once you do this, Okay, what happens is you get the complete list of relationships that are present between your tables. Okay, this not only helps you create new relationships and modify relationships, it can also help you delete it as well. Apart from that, let's say you want to verify these relationships in detail, then it's quite useful. So let me just verify this relationship more. So I just double click on this and it goes into the edit relationship mode. Okay, so here you can see it's selecting the manufacturing ID from my products table and it's linking it to the manufacturing ID of my manufacturing table. So it's correct and it's being linked via many to one relationship. Okay, so this is something that is an active relationships. Now apart from active relationships, you may have passive relationships also. Okay, so Power BI actually decides this based on your requirements. So let's say if you are defining all the relationships, then it's left to you as to decide which are the active relationships and which are the passive relationships. Apart from that, once you've loaded a new table, Power BI does not immediately detect the relationship. So you can go back to the auto detect option and then select this. This will help Power BI understand that a new table has been added and it checks if there is any relationships between the new table and the existing table and it creates the relationship. Okay, so I hope you guys have got a simple overview with respect to the three workspaces associated with respect to Power BI. Now coming back, let's go back to the report workspace. Here what we'll be doing is we'll start by creating our first report. So as I had mentioned to you, this is going to be a product report. So I'll first begin by renaming this. Just double click, I'll call it product. Okay, now let's begin by creating our first visual. First thing I want to start off with, I want to know how many products do I have. Okay, for that I'm going to use something known as a card visual. Card visuals are usually used when you need to represent something specific. So once I have clicked on the visual, you can see immediately the visual has been added here, but it's blank at the moment because it does not have any values. There are two ways that I can add values to this. I can either select the corresponding column, drag it and drop it into the field option present here, or I can directly drag and drop it to the visualization. Okay, now this in turn tells the visualization this is the field that I want. Now here you can see I have 2412 products. Now you might be wondering how. So if you click on this, you can see the option, it is counting the number of product IDs. That means it's giving me an overview with respect to how many products are present. Okay, so now I know I have 2412 products. Let's say I'm going to create a new card. Now what I want to know is that I want to know the number of manufacturers that I have. So what I do, I'll just drag and drop the manufacturer ID. Now here again, it's showing me 2412. Now I'm quite sure this is not correct because I can't have so many manufacturers. So I go back to my field operation, I select here. Now I see it's counting, but rather than counting, I needed to count the distinct values because a manufacturer could sell multiple products. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to change this count to count distinct. Immediately the value changes from 2412 to 14. So this tells me that okay, I have only 14 manufacturers with me. Okay, similarly what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to add two more cards here which will give me a better insight for today's report. So I'm going to keep a count with respect to the various categories. Okay, and I'm going to create one more. I'm going to create different keep a count of the different sections present here as well. So I'm going to drag and drop the segments. Now you might have noticed earlier it was taking count, but now suddenly it's showing me values. Okay, now what is happening here is that it is picking the first value from these corresponding values present here. Okay, so I don't want it to do that. I wanted to count the distinct values. So I go back to count distinct and here you have the total number of categories. Similarly, if I go back to the segments and I change the segment from first segment to the count distinct option, it tells me that I have 8 segments. Now this is essentially important for me because it helps me keep track of the total number of products that I have. So let's say I'm connecting it to my real-time database. In that case, there would be newer products that keep getting added. So the product ID, the count of the product ID will help me understand how much is the product ID at the given instant as such. Now Power BI can handle real-time data as well. So this is one of the major factors that make Power BI stand above all the other data visualization tools as such. Okay. Now let's create the second visualization. I'm sorry. Okay, so this is going to be a bar chart. Basically what I'm trying to do is that I'm going to get my product overview. For that, there are different types of bar chart present in Power BI. Okay, so what we're going to do is that we're going to use a clustered column chart. So once I click on it, the clustered column chart gets added here. To this, I'm going to first bring in my product ID and then I'm going to bring in the segments. Okay, so this in turn gets converted to the visualization that you see here. Okay, so here what it has done is that it's identified the number of products in different segments, and then it's correspondingly plotted it in a bar chart. So all seasons has 169, convenience has 405, and so forth. So it's picked up all the 8 categories and then it's given me the corresponding values. Apart from this, I feel, okay, what if I want to know the number of products with respect to the categories as well? In that case, rather than creating a new visual, we'll try something new. What we'll do is we'll add categories column to the same visual. Notice what is going to happen. There's no immediate change with respect to the visualization, but don't think nothing has happened, because we've already created 2 different layers with respect to this. The first layer or the first level is a plot wherein you're identifying the number of products in different segments, and once you go down to the next level of this hierarchy, then you can see the number of products with respect to different categories. This gives me an idea of the number of products in different categories. Now, in case if you're creating reports, this is essential, because rather than creating multiple reports or visuals for the same purpose, but if they're slightly different, you can create a hierarchy on the same visual itself. Now, this may not be possible with all visuals, so I definitely leave it up to you to try and explore this. Apart from this, as we had discussed, we're going to get an overview with respect to the manufacturers as well. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to bring in the details of the manufacturer and I'm going to drag and drop here. So immediately when you drag and drop, Power BI recognizes this is a value and it creates a default visualization. In this case, it's created a default table visualization. That is, it's given me my values in form of a table. Now I feel, no, I don't want it in form of a table. I wanted something more interesting, something more visually appealing. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to change this visual to a tree map visual. Once I click on tree map visual, you're not going to see something immediately. This is mainly because I don't have enough inputs for the tree map visual. Okay, so to this, what I'll do is I'll just provide the product ID as the values. So here you can see different fields, you can see group, you can see details, you can see values, color saturation, and tooltip. So for the values field, I'm going to provide my product ID. What it basically does is that it groups the manufacturers and then it allocates area based on the number of products that they are selling. Okay, so this basically is a counting number here. So again, it's taking the count value. Now here again, let's say, okay, I'm not satisfied with this. I want more filtration. I want to understand better. What you can do is that you can add another column to this. So what I'll do is I'll add the segments as my detail field. Now earlier where it was just one single area taken up by the seller, now it is being divided into different segments as well. So let me just remove this and show it to you again. Okay, here you have the complete number of cubes, and when I add the segments, the same number gets divided with respect to the different segments that they're selling their products in. Okay, so Cubis has 288 products in productivity segment. So let me just show you something interesting here. Remember how I told you Power BI is very interactive? Once I click on a specific segment here, okay, all the corresponding visuals reflect the same. That is, there's a change with respect to all the corresponding visuals. Let me just show you that again. Okay, keep a track with respect to the cards present here as well as the bar chart present here. What I'm doing is that I'm just selecting the productivity segment of Cubis. Okay, so my manufacturer is Cubis and the segment is productivity. Once I select it, everything gets changed correspondingly. So all the data that is linked to this gets affected with respect to this. This is same as applying a filter condition, but at the same time I don't need to go manually add a filter condition as such. Once I click on it, it becomes interactive. It goes on and gives me the required details. So here you can see the total number of products is 286. We have verified that here. Apart from that, my current manufacturer is just Cubis. There are 2 categories here. Okay, let me just go down. So here you can see the 2 categories where the productivity products are being sold, and the segment is just productivity. I hope you guys, with this you've got a simple understanding of how to create a report and how interactive and simple it is as such. Okay, now one of the other interesting things about Power BI is that you can perform analysis operations here. Although they're not completely analysis tools, you can integrate various R scripts to integrate that. But I'll just show you a simple analysis. Now we've talked about the fields and the format tabs I'll just show you the analysis field with respect to a bar chart. Let's say I want to draw a constant line. Okay, I'll just go up, and here let's say I want to identify the products which are above a constant line, let's say constant values of 350. So this will tell me those categories which are above this. So any representation that is going above this line has a product above 350. Now again, this is just a very simple explanation or a simple representation that I'm showing you. Okay, there are various things that you can try out and work around with it. Okay, so Power BI is one of the tools that you can definitely play around, get good understanding, and is one of the easiest tools in the market today for business intelligence, data visualization, as well as all your operations. Your data could be small data present on an Excel file, or it could be one of the biggest data that you can come across. It could be your HDFS file, it could be present on a cloud database, and so forth. So you can link all that and you can work around with Power BI. Now moving forward, I've successfully completed my first report as such. Now it's time to go on and publish this report so I can create my first dashboard as such. So first thing, ensure that you have saved this. So I'm just going to save this. Okay, now that I have successfully saved this, what I need to do is that I need to click on the publish option present here. Why am I doing this is that I'm going to publish this report onto my Power BI service where I can create my dashboards. Now I hope you guys have an understanding that how dashboards and reports are different. Okay, now once I click on publish, it's going to link to my Power BI service based on my account, and then it's going to publish this report. Okay, this is why I had mentioned earlier, always ensure that you have created an account on Power BI and you're linking your Power and you've signed in correspondingly in your Power BI. Now if you look here, it's successfully publish my report onto Power BI, and I can also view this or get a quick insight. So let me go back to my Power BI and show you this. Okay, so let me just refresh this page. And in my workspace, you can see two things. In my reports, there's a new report called live, and in my dataset, there's a new dataset called live. So this dataset is correspondingly of the data that is associated with the report. But one thing you need to understand is that on Power BI service, you cannot manipulate the data associated with respect to the data, with respect to any report as such. You can modify any existing report, you can make new visualizations, but you cannot change the data associated with it. Okay, so let me just show you the report again present here. So this is the report that we have just created as such. Okay, now again, if you want to add any filters, you have the option present here as well. So with respect to my products by segment or products by category, I can add any corresponding filters as per my requirement. Okay, now apart from this, once you click on file, you have the option of publishing this to web. Okay, this basically is going to give you an embedded code. Once you have the embedded code, you can go on to add it to your website, and thereby giving everyone an access to a live and interactive dashboard at their ease. So let's say you've created a visualization for a company's requirement, then definitely you can make sure that you're giving them an interactive dashboard. So anyone who comes to the website will be amazed with respect to how interactive this dashboard is, and how, let's say if you're even connecting it to real-time data, definitely that would be something interesting. So definitely explore this as well. Now let me show you how to create a dashboard. Now by default, there's not going to be any dashboard present on your Power BI service. So what you need to do to create a dashboard is that you need to first pin a visual. Okay, you see the pin option present here, it's going to pin it to a dashboard. Now I don't have any existing dashboard, so it's going to ask me whether I want to create a new dashboard. So let me just call it Edureka Power BI Live. Okay, and then I'm going to pin this. Now before I go on to my dashboard, let me just pin all these visualizations with the dashboard. Okay, so I'll just pin this. Now it's telling me there is an existing dashboard, and do I want to pin to it? So I click on pin. Same here. I'll just pin this as well. Okay, now one thing I want you to remember, this is a multi-layered visualization. Keep that in mind, and I'm going to show you something when we move on to our dashboard. Okay, so we're going to pin it while it's in the level product by segments. So I'm going to pin this, pin it, and I'll pin this as well. Okay, now let me go on to my dashboard. Either I can select the dashboard from here or choose the option of go to dashboard from here. Once I click on go to dashboard, then it's going to show me a dashboard as such. Okay, so here I have all my visualizations. Here it's called a tile as such. Now on this dashboard, only thing that you can do is you can move it around or change it as such, but you cannot directly manipulate it. Also, the interactivity with respect to the dashboard is quite limited. Now let's say if I try to select the same field that I had selected earlier on my report, what it's going to do is that it's going to redirect me to the report correspondingly. Okay, here I can select the field and it's going to change as such, but on my dashboard it's not going to be reflected. What you get from this is that the dashboard is just a read only view, but at the same time, if you've linked it with corresponding report, any changes with respect to the report are not linked correspondingly to the dashboard. So even if you're changing something with respect to a specific visual, then what you need to do is that you need to either repin it or you need to remove it and add it again. Okay, now as I had mentioned earlier, the product by segments that I had added is just with respect to the first level. The multi-level is not reflected here. So in case if you're creating a multi-level visual, then go back to your report, come down in your hierarchy, okay, and then you need to pin it individually again. Okay, if you go back to your dashboard, it's present here bottom. Okay, so in case if you're creating a multi-layered visual, then make sure you do this, because what happens is it's a static view only visual that is getting added here. Okay, now finally let me just show you a very interesting feature of Power BI dashboard. Now from a non-technical perspective, usually a dashboard would be something mostly people who have not much of a technical knowledge would be using. Okay, for them identifying and filtering out the data from this dashboard is going to be hard. But what Power BI has come up with is a new feature called Power BI Q&A. If you click on ask a question about your data, it's going to launch the Power BI Q&A feature. Here all you need to do is that you need to write your query directly. So let's say I want to identify my manufacturer. So it's directly showing me which field do I want. I select manufacturer with most products. So here you can see I've just entered a simple question. I want to know which manufacturer has the most products. Automatically it's fetched the data, that is it's converted this question into a query. It's gone into the data, it's fetched the corresponding result, and it's also given me an output in form of a visual. So this becomes a highly useful feature when you're dealing with a non-technical person. So this makes it quite easy for anyone to get insight from your data as well. Okay, so I hope you guys have had a learning experience where we've created our first report and our first dashboard as well. Coming back, let's just summarize what we've learned as part of this session. We started off by understanding what is self-service business intelligence. After that, we moved on to understand why go with Power BI, what is Power BI, and then we looked at demo. Okay, now in case if you're looking for more details on Power BI, you can check out our Edureka training, which is present both on weekdays and weekends. We have a 4-week class for weekend batches and a 12 days class for a weekday schedule. Now my team will also be giving you the link to our Edureka Power BI training page. Apart from that, if you're looking for more information with respect to Power BI in form of a blog, you can check out our Power BI tutorial and Power BI dashboard blog, and you can also check out our Edureka Power BI tutorial video playlist. Okay, now make sure you always subscribe to Edureka channel and are notified with respect to this. Now this will ensure that you are updated with respect to all our latest updates, and you would be aware of all our upcoming sessions as well. Now since all of you stayed up for so long, I would request that you fill the survey form, which will help us improve your experience in the upcoming live sessions. Now as a goodwill gesture, if you've completely submitted this form, you would be getting an additional discount with respect to any of the courses that are present on Edureka. Again, not just Power BI as such. So with this, let's end this session. Meanwhile, if you do have any questions, make sure you put it across in the chat box. With that, thank you.